week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last thoughts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 196. Man, every time I type that number, I'm like, we're getting so close to 200. And we're still on track for 200 being the Kentucky Derby preview. So, oh boy, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about how you doing today.
I'm doing good, man. This is a fitting Magic Mike pick four sequence too. I think we're talking about like half the horses that have either been involved in big scores or horses that we've played in the past. So we've got a lot of the old favorites that are all coming back for this sequence. So I'm excited to get into this one. And man, the Saturday carding is not amazing at Saratoga, but the stakes race we're going to cover, one of the best fields I've probably ever seen. So I'm really excited to see how the Fourstardave turns out this year. One of my favorite horses is Saratoga too. Just absolute legend there. Talk about horse for the course. Fourstardave, loved them some Saratoga turf.
Yeah, it's God, that race. When I was previewing it for the Breeders' Cup website, I was looking through and I was like, you could make a case for, there's 9 horses and you could make a legitimate case for probably 8 of them. There are just so many good, talented horses. You've got the top 3 finishers of last year's race that were all separated by like a neck and a head. You've got the top 3 finishers from the Breeders' Cup Mile coming back for this race as well. It's like, you can't get any better than this. I was giving Jared a little bit of shit because for Blinkers Off, when they do that later today, their big preview is going to be the Pacific Classic. And I was like, Jared, you've got 3 Breeders' Cup winning year-in races this weekend because there's also the Del Mar Handicap. You picked the one race that has probably a slam dunk single in the race. You're going to do an in-depth preview on that. You're just going to do a rapid fire on the Four-Star. Where's the love for the Fourstardave? So that's what you've got the Magic Mike Show for. We're going to give it the proper attention it deserves because that is a damn good race.
Yeah, we give the people what they want, man. Here's my preview for the Pacific Classic. Maximum Security is going to run better than they did last time, and we'll win the race.
While carrying even weight with everybody else when he was spotting him 8 pounds last time.
I'm excited to hear Blinkers Off just to see how they go on about that for 20 minutes because I don't know how you could do 20 minutes on that race. I would just be repeating myself over and over again. So, yeah, I'm glad we're doing Saratoga because this is going to be a little more fun sequence. It sounds like you've seen my ticket. I haven't seen yours. It sounds like we may have some differing opinions here. So make for good television, and I got my forms. I'm going paper today, so I'm not going to be flipping back and forth. But it is we have a lot going on. We tried Sama Bombs for the first time as a grid only product, so we're going to some of these smaller tracks where I think they're good pools to play. But if we give out a ticket, the problem is that if 40 people play the exact same ticket into a pool, it completely dilutes the pool and the ticket value. So we did grid only today for Arlington, which is it's still going on. If anyone wants to get involved, even if you don't want to buy the Sama Bombs, there's a pick 5 and pick 4 carryover. Both of them are 50-cent bets. Both of them are mandatory payout or not mandatory payouts. There are no jackpot wagers. So it's 15% takeout on the pick 5. The pick 6 and the pick 7 were both 20-cent wagers that were low takeout bets too. So shout out to Arlington for doing something well there and offering low takeout, non-jackpot pick 7, pick 6, and pick 5 bets.
Yeah, then they're on their lot. They're struggling to stay aboard, right? Because the assholes that run CDI are trying to shut them down and get rid of the track altogether. And so whatever we can do to try and keep Arlington Park alive. I keep hearing how that's the most beautiful track and facility in the country. And I'll swear to God, if they shut it down, before I get a chance to go visit it next year, I'm going to be really pissed about that.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't been, anyone who has not been to Arlington, you have the opportunity to go. I don't even know if they're allowing spectators right now, but if you do have the opportunity to go with everything that's going on, I would highly recommend it. I grew up in the Chicagoland area. It's a gorgeous track. Some of the landscape that they have around the paddock is absolutely beautiful. The main building, the clubhouse, is this beautiful 4 or 5 story white building. It burnt down in the 80s and they rebuilt the whole thing up. Mm-hmm. And, it was amazing that they ran $1 million the year that the part of the grandstand burned down. And then in the out front, you have a nice little area right in the front stretch, and you have a beautiful grassy area right around the turn. I used to go with my mom and dad, and we'd literally put a picnic blanket down and just kind of hang out right at the top of the stretch on this grassy area. At a birthday party there once, and we were playing 500 with a Frisbee and threw it onto the racetrack. So that was fun. I got some good Arlington memories. Luckily, the race wasn't going on. It was after the race. So we told the security guard, ran out, jumped on the track, grabbed the Frisbee, ran back. So yeah, I got some good Arlington memories, man. Hopefully that place stays afloat. It's a beautiful track, and it deserves better.
So what we're saying is, if we try to do great, my camera's already doing what it's doing. So if we end up going to Arlington for a Magic Mike show and we try to do it live, I'll be allowed in, and you're going to have to broadcast from outside the fence because they're not going to let you and your Frisbee back in. That's what you're saying.
If they see me with a Frisbee, we're in trouble. We'll just put it that way. But, luckily Arlington's, it's got more than the one strike policy when you're 14 and throwing Frisbees around. So they continue to take my money. I wasn't wagering. Just throwing a Frisbee. Not betting any money.
No. Listen, if someone else is placing the bets for you, it might have been your money, but as soon as that money changes hands, it's somebody else's. So, I'm right. You didn't do anything wrong. You just gave money to because you owed your dad or your uncle some money, and your uncle said, you know what, I got this extra money now. I might as well go place this bet that Mike just so happens to like.
I knew how to work a tote machine when I was 10. Because as long as your parents were with you, they let you punch in whatever you want. So I'd have my own voucher, my own little voucher holder. I'd walk up to the window with my dad. I'd punch it in. Once I went up there without anybody, and I started punching a ticket. Guy goes, hey, are you alone? I'm like, no, this is my dad. Just random dude behind me. Like, oh, okay. Just walk away. The guy just smiles. I'm like, man, what can you do?
I've already been told by Mrs. Magic that if and when we have little magicians running around, and if she even lets me take them to the track, but by golly, if she ever finds out about them placing a bet, I'm in deep trouble. So we'll have to hurry up and turn 18 real fast.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, my dad gave me $10 every time I went to Saratoga. I got $1 show bet on every race. He gave 10 to my sister too. I would bet every race. She kept the $10. That's how it went every single time. Because I just wanted the action. So interesting seeing the two of us in the juxtaposition there. So yeah. So hopefully, if I'm distracted, it's because I'm watching Arlington here. I've got Saratoga up there. We're live in the Pick 5 right now. So hopefully that keeps rolling. Got a couple tournaments over here. So we're going to do our best to stay focused on what's in front of us, though.
Well, before we get into the Saratoga late Pick 4 on Saturday, what's the best thing you saw this week?
I kind of went back and forth on everything, but it's this little package down here that I haven't set up yet. I bought a new Xbox. I'm really excited about this because I have this Xbox One that's like literally ages old. I started playing a game called Rocket League. I think I've talked about it before on here. Yeah. Where you can't play it. Like my brother-in-law who's going through the same stuff that I am, just about to have their first kid. The whole thing, he's like, we got to find a way to play golf and play Rocket League and everything. Well, now I can play Rocket League, so I'm pumped about that. Apparently FIFA is really good, so I guess I'm going to get FIFA and weather. So if you're on Xbox and you're playing these things, hit me up on Twitter, shoot me a DM, maybe we could play each other or something. But yeah, I'm really excited to have an Xbox, but the day has been so busy, it's still sitting in the box down there. I haven't even set it up yet, which is probably like a 99-1 shot. That's the longest shot winner today, is the Xbox still sitting in the box from Amazon.
I played Rocket League once or twice. Neighbor at my old place had it and had me come over back when it was just for PlayStation. Mm-hmm. So we played that, and it's funny because I'd known the guy we've been friends for a long time, several years, and we'd never played video games together before. And I'd never seen he was a very calm, relaxed guy, and I'd never seen a competitive side of him. Ooh. But in the first game we played, he was taking it easy on me. And, I'm trying to figure out the controls, and I'm an Xbox player now. So the PlayStation control, it's a little wonky to try and get used to that again. And the second game, I picked it up pretty quick. Mm-hmm. He didn't like that. He wasn't ready for that. And so all of a sudden that third game, both of our wives were just sitting there the third game looking at each other like, what happened? Like we went from being fun and laughing to like, we weren't talking. Like we were just like in the zone, and then after that, I was like, maybe I shouldn't play video games with Dan anymore, because then he beat me, but it was like I think one goal he got me by, and so after that, we just set the controls down. We're just like, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go home.
You get uber focused on that game, man. You just get dialed in, and all you want to do is try and get the job done. So that's an interesting one because it sucks you in because it's only 5 minutes. So it's just quick games, and you're trying to play soccer with a car, but you can fly around. It's crazy, but once you stay going, it's so much fun. And yeah, it gets a little intense. That's why I always play with people that I like on their team, so that you don't have that head bashing going on.
I had to put on a hat because Saratoga Slim was giving me shit for some past video where he was said it looked like I didn't shower. Listen, with this headset, I can have perfect hair. The second this headset goes down, the hair just goes nuts. And so I was looking at it. My hair was yes, I'd showered today. Thank you, Slim. So I made sure I put the hat on and make it look better. Speaking of fun and intense. How about these NBA playoffs, man? This is the best thing that I saw. These NBA playoffs have been so fun to watch. And, we've had a lot of blowouts. as a Clippers fan, I'm not happy with how they've been playing. They deserve.
How about
to lose
Luka
both
last
games.
night?
Luka, oh my God. Okay. I don't know how much of it was. I need to look back at it later, because either you got one at Arlington.
Get up. Get up.
Did it go?
Yeah, they both got up. Sweet. All
There
right,
you
we're
go.
good. We're moving on.
Oh,
Top pick over top pick. We'll take it.
nice.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of it was Luka was doing well versus the Clippers. They're just sloppy as hell, and it's frustrating because they've got so much talent. They have probably one of the most talented rosters, top to bottom, in the entire league. They're still in this mindset where they think they can just turn it on whenever they want. And when they turn it on, they're great. But it's so frustrating watching. But regardless, the NBA playoffs, I don't think the NBA has done a single thing wrong since they came back, and then the playoffs will look great. I love that the players are getting mic'd up, and that we can get, you can hear them throughout the game. They'll go back and show clips. And it had me thinking yesterday, man, I really want this in horse racing. Could you imagine at the Breeders' Cup or the Kentucky Derby day, pick a couple of jockeys, mic them, sometimes they have the GoPros, which we've seen, which is cool. Put the mic with it. And then that way I want to hear what they're talking about. And retrospectively, of course, after a race is done, go back and find it.
You can't have the hot mic.
You can't have the hot mic. No.
Found that out the hard way yesterday.
Cincinnati Reds found that out the hard way yesterday. Yeah. But no, I want to hear what's Rosario talking about in the paddock with the trainer? When he's, when the riders are out there, warming up with the ponies and the outriders, what are they, they're talking to each other. They're smack talking to, are the Ortiz brothers smack talking to each other from horses as they're going in the gate? When they're in tight in a corner, what's the cut? Because you hear about it. Gary Stevens is very open about this. He said, when you get in tight there in that far turn, and especially in a big race, it's not a great, you probably have to bleep a lot of stuff out, but he says it gets really intense. I want to hear that. You cannot give me enough of this stuff. And I think, especially in a digital age, with horse racing needing further exposure, do this, because you could play that stuff on ESPN, and the casual, my mom is going to watch that and go, oh, that was funny. My mom loves it when they catch athletes swearing and they have to bleep them out. That's one of her favorite things about sports. She goes, oh, he said phooey again. So, that sort of thing. I just, give me that in horse racing, man.
It would be interesting. I bet they wouldn't let you do it in the paddock, because there is some competition issues there. And if anyone has access to any of the other microphones, there'd be ways to make it very bad there. But man, I agree with you. I would love to hear what jockeys are saying. If they're actually saying something to each other during the race, these horses are going fast. Are they able to actually, at 35, 40 miles an hour, be able to talk to each other and say something to one another about, I'm coming through, or, because on the bike, there's a little bell, they go ding, ding on your left. Does that happen?
Yeah.
And so do they? I would be really interested, right after the wire, after one of the Ortizes hurted somebody, are they screaming expletives at them? All these things I think would be really interesting to hear. I'm not sure if they'll ever let us, but man, it would be fun. And by the way, this whole tangent came from the NBA playoffs, which are great. You're right. The Clippers have been a little disappointing, but man, it's been a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to Portland Lakers tonight. I'm was enjoying part of this mess of mine right now is that Houston OKC game 2 there. So it's been awesome. The bubble basketball, we talked about it every time. It's been great. Blues went down last night in hockey. That was a little brutal, but we got 2 games left to win, so hopefully we can get through. But yeah, the NBA has put on a wonderful performance.
Yeah, I was just thinking, man, if you had, just give me Irad. I don't care any other jockey. Just give it to Irad, because I think he's one of the most vocal guys. And as a point, if you watch a Breeders' Cup race, a recent past Breeders' Cup race, if he's in it, you can hear him in the telecast. The fans are roaring. You can hear Irad calling to it, screaming to here's the cue, here's this, here's all that little. God, I love it. Anyways, on today's show, we're going to be talking about Irad and his brother and a bunch of other jockeys at Saratoga, the late pick 4 sequence. Let's get into it, Mike. Riders up. Get the papers ready.
Ready to go. Ready to roll. This is the first time we're doing papers, so we'll see how it goes.
Well, it's quieter than poker chips, so we got that going for us.
Zinger. I got those right here if you need me to start shuffling.
We're good. All right, kicking things off for the late pick 4 sequence at Saratoga on Saturday, August 22nd. Race 7 on the card. Get a field of 8 3-year-old males plus 2 main track only entries going a mile on the inner turf course. This is a $74,000 allowance. Non-winners of one other than. Favoritism is on the number 7, Lonesome Fugitive at 8-5. You made my ticket. Wasn't my top pick, but plenty of ways you could go in this race, and I'm curious to hear who you put on top.
Yeah, so I left the 7-horse Lonesome Fugitive off. I think this is going to be one of our discussion points here, where you're going to call me a little bit crazy, especially after all of the flack you caught last week for leaving a Chad Brown horse off on the turf when you're not singling and going a couple deep. Well, I am going to put a Chad Brown horse on top here. I'm going to go to his brother Irad on the 4-horse, acidocily. I got nothing here.
It's assiduously, and I only know that because I watched his last race and I heard Imbriali say it. That's the only way I know. I would have probably done what you did, but it's assiduously.
Assiduously. It's funny because I don't read names when I handicap. So I the first time I read any of these names is when we come on the show, and I'm trying to just spit them out, and sometimes it goes very poorly. So assiduously, the 4-horse, Klaravich Stables, Chad Brown, Irad. I think I've said enough right there. I really like the pattern here that this horse is coming in. This is a 74,000 non-winners of one. So a lot of horses who just broke their maiden are kind of compete at this level for a little bit. Some horses coming up from Claimer. This horse ran very well. First time out, off a layoff at Belmont, going 1 1/8. I thought it was a really impressive race. Went to the front, and you'll see the horse No Word won that race. We've talked about No Word a couple times over the last 2 weeks. Ended up running third last weekend in a major stakes race. Shamrocket was in that race. We talked about Shamrocket 2 weeks ago. So a lot of horses that I believe ran well out of that race. This horse is now coming out of it as well. I like the fact that you showed speed at 1 1/8. So being up close, or having the speed to be up close, if the 4 wants to be up close, it's able to do so. I actually considered singling this horse. This to me was the most likely single from me in this sequence because I felt like it was a separator, and it also would have allowed me to go deeper, specifically in the feature where I'm only going 3 deep. I ended up going 3 deep here, but I do like this specific Brown on top, and is my only must use in this race.
Yeah, he was great too. I almost made him my top pick. First of all, when I was going through, I just automatically was like, he's making my ticket. I don't give a shit who else makes my ticket or how deep I decide to go. I'm never, ever, ever passing again on Klaravich, Irad, Chad Brown. Like it's got to be a trash horse for me to think about doing that. So the reason I went back and watched that race is because you don't usually see a Chad Brown horse, especially with Irad on, that goes to the front and then kind of falters a little bit. That race, man, this is the first time wearing blinkers in that race. It looked like he'd never worn blinkers until he left the gate because he looked uncomfortable as you know what. He veered inside, and then everybody goes into that first turn. He veers outside and screws a bunch of people up. Irad had his hands full. Finally lets the horse just go. Yep. And then he seemed fine. And then I think, the combination of the energy lost plus, 1 1/8 might have just been too long. He faded in the stretch there. I think second time blinkers, which is an angle you talk about being helpful. I think that he should be a lot better. And definitely cutting back in distance, I think is going to help him. The reason I wouldn't have wanted to single him maybe for you, he was so rank in that race that it makes you pause. You can't have a lot of faith singling him without knowing, is he going to be able to handle the blinkers again? Because, he very well could. Maybe the blinkers, he just hates not being able to see something, and that screwed him up. And if it falters again here, you probably see Chad Brown take it off. But definitely, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's interesting you mentioned the blinkers, and I'm going to jump into why I didn't use the 7.
Sure, go ahead. He's on my ticket, so go ahead.
Blinkers on is the reason I didn't use it. Ironically, Chad Brown, he's pretty bad. Blinkers on, 14% with a 52-cent ROI. That's the reason I'm not using the 7, just simply because he's adding blinkers. And it's ironic that you bring up that the first time the 4 had blinkers on, it struggled, when the 7 to me is going to be in the same situation. I like Chad Brown's second time blinkers because I think he puts the blinkers on for a reason. Specifically, he wants him to show a little more speed. You look at the race 2 back from the 4-horse, showed absolutely no speed. The blinkers kind of re-brought out the speed that is there at its second career start. I feel like adding the blinkers on the 7 is the reason why you don't use the 7, because the 7 will go off as a favorite in this spot. Mm-hmm. You can fade the Chad Brown, get the one from the better stable with who I think is the better jockey, and get second-time blinkers instead of first-time blinkers, which is something that Chad Brown specifically struggles with. Maybe overthinking this. Maybe I should add the 7 in since I'm 3 deep here anyway. But I'm going to try and separate myself, and I'm going to do it specifically because of the angle that you're talking about right now, is that blinkers on for Chad Brown.
That's a great point. And yeah, that's the biggest negative I have for this horse is that blinkers, first time blinkers and blinkers on for Chad Brown. It's not a profitable angle. We'll leave it at
very
that.
Bad.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting 25 cents on $1 back on that, or for a $2 bet, I should say. Anyways, so let's look at the race. That race specifically has Kingmeister, the 8-horse, who was my top pick, and I know made your ticket as well. So we can talk about him. And it's interesting that you're using Kingmeister, who was third, but behind Lonesome Fugitive in that race by a half length. Kingmeister, that race at Saratoga, he's a lot better than that. He got squeezed, he got squeezed back. He doesn't usually like to be that far off. If you look at his previous dirt races, he was a lot closer to the pace there. And I think he just got knocked off. Also, that race was flipping nuts. I forget who it wasn't Don Juan Kitten who won, but it was some long shot that went out and was leading second place by 10 lengths easily. I mean, that was it was a stupid race. It was one of those things where you're like, it's hard to handicap because of what happened. Don Juan Kitten surprised everybody. He got the jump on them going into the far turn. No one was able to keep up with him. I think because the jockey just ended up pressing go a lot faster than expected. I thought that Kingmeister ran the better race there. Lonesome Fugitive hit him a couple of times in the stretch and really knocked him off. I think if Jose Lezcano keeps him closer to the pace, is able to do that, he's going to avoid, any kind of traffic trouble. Hopefully Lonesome Fugitive doesn't knock into him again and play bumper cars with him. Or if he does, maybe Kingmeister should be on the outside and won't have the rail to try and tap on the brakes. You're also getting second off of a long layoff, second in the Shug McGahee barn, second on turf. Lots of angles to love here. Did I miss any angles that you love?
No, you pretty much hit everything nail on the head there. I mean, it's also second time like you said, second time in the barn. I think that does make a big difference. So he didn't really have any experience with him before trying him on the grass here. Shug is doing well at the meet right now. He is 6 for 20 with 6 additional there's 3 additional places, 3 additional shows. So he is absolutely killing it right now at the meet, clicking off at 30%. I think this horse can take a nice step forward. I think it's definitely a usable horse. It made my ticket as well as the 2. So the other horse I used was a 2, Plot the Dots. And this one is an interesting one horse to me. This horse, they were trying it on the dirt and actually got to the point where they thought this horse was good enough to run it in a restricted allowance where it won and then take it on to a stakes race on the turf for first time turf. Vanty's a pretty good horse. So is Bye Bye Melbourne. I mean, those horses that won that race are actually decent horses that are coming out of the Jersey Derby for 106K. I think that this horse has got a legit shot to take him to the turf. And I think it's awfully interesting that Rosario picks up the mount as well. And in a race where I think you want to be tactical, this horse has tactical speed and should be able to handle the turf pretty easily. Rosario's obviously been doing well. He's had some really creative rides. If we had one person that camera linked up, I would pick Rosario. The microphone, maybe not, but the camera, man, I love to see what he sees sometimes and just see how crazy he sees. Because on the TV, he looks nuts. I don't know about in the actual race when it's going. Some of the holes, man, he finds it's just nuts. But yeah, second time turf here. Uncle Mo's are very good on either surface. So I have no issue with Uncle Mo going over to the turf. And I think it's interesting that they did try and send this horse to a grass stakes race instead of a dirt stakes race. It shows me that they actually believe this may be a better grass horse than a dirt horse. And if that's the case, then the buyers really are going to fit in line. And I'm getting 8-1 on a horse that I think has a legit shot at being the winner here. So I'm going to end up going 3 deep here with the 2, the 4, and the 8. And I'm going to take my chance here in the first leg and leave off the other, which is actually the favorite, Chad Brown horse, who's 8-5 morning line.
Well, and his dam, Plot the Dots' dam, Lady of Gold, was multiple graded stakes place on turf. So she didn't win the graded stakes race on turf, but she was very clearly grass was what she was better at. I didn't use, but I think especially if there's a scratch in a different race here, either the second or the fourth leg here, I'm probably going to look at adding Plot the Dots because there's a lot of interesting things. The one thing I didn't like, and maybe it'll change with Rosario riding, I didn't like that Plot the Dots was sitting pretty close to the pace and they went slow in the middle of the race. And then everyone else off the turn accelerated and just kind of like spun his wheels a little bit. Maybe it was, the extra 16th of a mile, but I didn't see any kind of a kick out of that race. And that's his first time turf. So maybe he'll be a little more used to it this time. Maybe the Saratoga turf gives a little bit better than the Monmouth one, so he can kick on. But with Rosario aboard, maybe he tries and takes back a little bit if it gets a little hot up front and tries to employ it. That was the only reason I didn't use him, but you brought up great points, and I wouldn't talk anybody off of using him.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It clearly is it's the horse that I'm definitely projecting the most, right? I mean, I'm hoping that this horse can kind of take a step up and be able to get it home. And it needs to take a step up to be competitive in this spot. But I don't really love the one entry from Maker. I think both of them are taking a pretty big step up in class. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's really the horse that I think could beat them would be the 7 that I'm not using. And so I want to try and beat that 7. And that means I'm going to use a couple other bullets that are a little more unique than normal.
Yeah, speaking of coupled entries, we'll move on to the second leg of the late pick 4 sequence at Saratoga on Saturday, August 22nd, race 8 on the card. You got a field of 7 males, 4 and up, going 1 mile and an eighth on the dirt. Is optional claim or non-winners of 2 other than. Favoritism is on the coupled entry from Todd Pletcher, Rapoli Stables, the 1 and 1A Blewett and Legit. There are 7-5 on the morning line. And excuse me, I'm really sorry. I'm choking on all the chalk that you're about to eat in this race here. Go ahead.
Well, the funny thing is I don't even like Blewett. And I think the Blewett is the reason why this entry is getting bet. There's a ton of speed in this race, man. I like that's just the bottom line. There's a ton of speed. And I think it actually sets up pretty well for the 1A legit. But on top, I'm going to use Growth Engine. And this is just one of those horses when Chad Brown is going well on the dirt. I don't really want to take a shot against Klarovich, Brown, and Castellano again in this spot. And I think the race sets up really well for this horse. It showed the ability to stalk a pace that wasn't really snappy up front. They went 24.47 last time. He was able to sit right behind that and just pull away. I'm a little concerned this horse debuted at Monmouth. It's why I'm not singling it. The fact that they brought this horse back there and then they decided to come here to optional 2 versus a stakes race, it feels more like that was a progression race than a setup race, where if it was a setup race, he would be in a stakes race off of it. So I believe that they weren't 100% sure of what type of effort they were going to get from Growth Engine in this spot. I think they ended up getting a big one, and that's why you're seeing him here in 62 non-winners at Saratoga instead of running back at Monmouth, running at Gulfstream or another track. So I do believe you're going to see this horse take a step forward, and I think the pace sets up very, very well. I'm not a huge fan of Blewett. I kind of hope Blewett scratches, to be honest. Like I think that would help my price on legit, and legit is the one I'm using, not Blewett in this spot. I get Blewett, so I'm happy with that. I mean, okay, I get another bullet, we'll take it. But the price is going to go down because of it. But if you look at legit, I mean, the last race was on turf. That was an interesting move. I'm kind of surprised that they went there, but Ortiz stays on top, stays on the mount. If you go back to the race 3 back at Gulfstream, I think it fits very well. And again, you get a closer here. I mean, look at the even 2 back, Moretti, Sir Winston. These are much better horses than who he's facing today. And again, I see 4 or 5 horses that want the lead, and we're going a mile and an eighth. If you go fast early at Saratoga and you're going a mile and an eighth, you're going to finish like the 5 did in the first race. I don't think he's finished yet. So like it does not end well for you if you end up going too fast at a mile and an eighth on the lead. I think that there are too many speed horses here. So I'm going to look for horses that are off the pace. The 1A fits that very well. And then the 2, I think, is probably the most dangerous from a progression standpoint and could take a huge step forward. And if the 2 takes a step forward, I'm not sure how you beat it. So I'm going to be rooting for the 2, but covering myself with the 1A.
Yeah, the 1-1A, that coupled entry, the 7-5, and I think largely because of Blewett. I think this horse is going to get that entry is going to get hammered. If Blewett scratches, I'm going to take another look at this because I'm specifically playing against because of the price. I hate that price. And I think the Growth Engine, you brought up a great point. Growth Engine is my top pick because of the progression. This horse comes back from after a year away and is at Monmouth and wins. Look what Chad Brown did last year. Chad Brown started his summer campaign at Monmouth, then went to Saratoga in a mile and an eighth, non-winners of 1 race, going to mile and an eighth. And, you know, Vincento beat him. Vincento won 9 times. Yeah. Like Vincento was in for a tag. That's a big step to take forward in your second start after breaking your maiden. I think he's got plenty of room to improve, but he's also going to need it because his career best buyer is not going to match up with most of this field. One thing that's weird to me about this is a Klarovich, Chad Brown. Irad's never once ridden this horse in a race. And I get it if Irad doesn't want to go to Monmouth, but Irad didn't want to ride at Saratoga or at Gulfstream Park during the championship meet in 2019. I thought that was a little odd, but I'm trying not to look too much into that because there aren't any world beaters in this race. Well, and again, if he can take a step forward off of that last race at Monmouth, I think this is a very dangerous horse.
I could be wrong. Didn't he ride Global Campaign? Irad?
He might have.
Global Campaign beat him in his first start, which may be the reason why Castellano ended up on this horse, not with the Klarovich connections. And if you even look at who this horse faced, I mean, the Trash Man is Coming he was the horse he beat the second race, Fortune Cookie in the third. Like this is a really pretty deep group of horses that have faced Growth Engine too. I mean, he's not had a soft spot yet, except for maybe that Monmouth race. So, you know, there's talent here. I mean, we had that 87 buyer at Saratoga on July 11th. If we see that progression at middle to late 4-year-old season, you could see like a 98, 99 here. And if you run that, I mean, game over. I'm talking myself into wanting to bet this horse at 5-2. Go Klarovich double. I mean, why not? If you get the 4-1, 5-2, it's definitely worth it.
Aaron, you're lucky you're not here because I would hit you for that stupid comment. You said Irad is on a legit horse in this race, talking about the 1A legit. Get out of here with your. Usually that's Samich's job is to make the dad jokes. Come on now.
Oh man, Aaron's got a big announcement, folks. Blinkers off. It's coming out.
Whoa. So 2 was my top pick. I used 2 other ones here. I used the 3 Seafoam, second off ish. Kind of this Medaglia d'Oro is bred for the distance, so I have no worries about that. He's shown tactical speed. Rosario showed last year when riding this horse at Belmont, he could sit off a little bit or press the pace and still succeed. I don't want to see this horse try and go to the lead because there's a lot of speed entered in here, but if Rosario can read the room and kind of take back This is a step up from state bred competition that he faced. So hopefully there's a little bit more speed he'll take back. He's won at the distance. He's won at Saratoga. That 90 Beyer is nice. He's going to have to improve. The concern here is I don't even know if he's going to run because he's cross-entered in a race Friday at Monmouth Park, and we're recording this on Thursday, so we don't know. But this is one of those scratches. I said if this horse scratches, I might revisit adding a different horse. Actually, with the Rosario horse in the previous leg. So I used Seafoam. He's got the win over this course. Granted, it came against State Bred Stakes Company, but I like him. And I'm going to use the 6. It's all relevant. The Aladar Stakes, man, that was way too much for him.
Yeah,
he was facing Spinoff, endorsed, Bodie Express. Bodie Express let this horse go to the lead, and he didn't hold on. But the one concern you probably would have here is it looks like he's a need the lead type, and he didn't hold on against better horses last time out. Is he going to be able to hold on? He's 7. Is he slipping a little bit? But I'm getting a massive jockey upgrade to Luis Saez here. It is Rudy Rod. And remember what knocked you out of, what was it, yesterday at Saratoga? People were giving you shit because one horse was alone on the lead all the way around and knocked you out. Listen, man, that might happen here. And, if I want to, of the speed horses, I think It's All Relevant is the best. And so if he can get away on a nice, easy lead with Luis Saez, who's a very aggressive jockey, I want to have that bullet in my pocket.
Yeah, I mean, I went back and forth on both of these horses. I literally, first off, Seafoam for me, I'm not willing to take I think Seafoam's going to get bet down in this spot. I'm not willing to take the price on Seafoam, especially because Seafoam, and this is why I built out my next up, and so my must uses were the 1 and the 2. My next up was actually the 5. Because for me, the 5 and the 1 have both beaten Seafoam. And so he's going to have to turn the tables on 2 separate horses in this spot. Now, the added distance may help him out, but he's going to want to be on the lead or be close to the lead, and that's going to be a fast pace. So the fact that he's lost to 2 horses in this field and he will need to be close up to the front really make me kind of hesitant to take anything short on Seafoam. And the issue I have here is that when you start looking at this field, I mean, we got 6 horses. If you go too deep, you're starting to hit the all button in this race. I think it's a terrible race to hit the all button because the favorites are good. And so at that point, it's take a stand somewhere, right? It's either, just trim it down and play 2 favorites. On Saturday, my ticket might be single to the 2, but to be honest with you, just because at some point, because then it allows me to spread in the next race where I've got a little funky, which I'm sure you're going to give me some slack on. So for me, I feel like Seafoam is kind of up against it here. And the problem with It's All Relevant is it is all relevant of who you're facing, what the pace is going to be. And in this case, again, he's up against it from a pace perspective. And you're right. This is a easier group than the Aladar, but it's a tougher group than the 2 non-winners of 2 that he absolutely rolled over top of the 2 previous races. So you can't say that you're completely throwing out the last race if you're not also taking the previous 2 races with a grain of salt, because the company in the last race is similar in my mind to this company than the company faced 2 back, right? I would say he's taking a step down in class, but he's not taking as far of a step down as he's going to take up from those back races. So for me, it's like at some point you just can't. We've now talked about every horse except the 4, which means then you're popping the all button. And you really want to hit the all button here and get a 7-5 shot home or a 5-2 shot home that's a Klarovich Brown horse. I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense. And that's why I ended up on just the 1 and the 2.
We'll move on to the 3rd leg of the late pick 4 sequence of Saratoga on Saturday, August 22nd. This is the big one. Aaron, you're watching. This is the race you guys should be talking about a lot on Blinkers Off later today. Field of 9 in the $400,000 Grade 1 Fourstardave Handicap. Field of 9 going a mile on the inner turf course. Like I said at the top of the show, you've got the top 3 finishers from last year's running here. You've also got the top 3 finishers from the Breeders' Cup Mile. And this is a Breeders' Cup win, and you're in for the new title, FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile, presented by the Permanently Disabled Jockey Fund, a.k.a. the PDJF. They just changed that name yesterday. Chad Brown, the trainer, has 4 entries in this race out of the 9, including the number 1 Raging Bull, who is your 5-2 morning line favorite. He also has the number 6 Uni at 3-1. Raging Bull's my top pick. He's on your ticket. We probably don't need to spend a lot of time talking about him, right? I mean, 2 wins in a second at Saratoga, the second coming in this race last year. 3 wins, 2 seconds, 2/3 in a mile. This horse needs to be on every ticket, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take the same strategy that I took in the Shoemaker Mile and I took in the Maker's Mark. I'm going to go ahead and use Without Parole and Raging Bull. And if you just want to stop there and not go any deeper, I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't tell you you're doing anything wrong, right? I I like Without Parole a little bit more in this spot. I liked Without Parole a little bit more in the last spot and the one before that. So, I mean, I'm a little bit of a sucker for the Without Parole, but Irad is staying on this horse when he has options in these races. And there is legit trouble in the last two. Now, the one before that, I'm throwing out because he didn't have Lasix. So that's the reason I'm kind of scratching a line through it. I will keep betting Without Parole if I'm getting 4-1. I think it's the best horse in this race from the Brown stable, but you got to use Raging Bull. Raging Bull has just been so good, especially at Saratoga. I don't see any way that you don't use both of those two horses. I think those are the easy ones. After that, it's how crazy do you want to get? How deep do you want to go? And kind of where do you go with it? And I think the other key part is what do you think the pace of this race is going to be? Because that's how I got to my little bit of a crazy-ish long shot. So we'll start with those two. Then I'll kick it over to you. I have no idea. Who else are you using in this spot?
Well, for the very reason that the comment Aaron just said, I am not using Without Parole. This is the first time I'm off the Without Parole. I'm so sick of this horse. I'm so sick of this horse.
How deep are you going?
There's always some stupid
How deep are you going?
3 deep.
All right, it's not so bad.
No. I mean, you could listen. This is probably the race to play because I'm finally backing off of him. But like Aaron said, he's an asshole. You can make an excuse for every single one of those tries, but eventually you just got to admit maybe he's just that much less than what he's facing here. I mean, he's facing Uni, Got Stormy, Raging Bull. He hasn't been better than any of those horses before. And yeah, there's plenty of trip excuses. I'm not going to try and talk him off of it, but F this horse. I am so sick of this horse. And if he wins, oh God, it's going to piss me off.
So I should buy you a Without Parole hat as soon as he wins this race. That what we need to do?
But give me a Breeders' Cup hat that says Without Parole, and I'll put it on the I'll put it on display here. Yeah,
I'll get you like a T-shirt. We'll make one up. I got thrown in jail for not using Chad Brown to pick 4. On the back, I'll just say Without Parole.
No, Aaron, I'm not letting Chad Brown be because I'm taking the two that are actually worth playing: Raging Bull and Uni.
Oh, that's right.
Uni, look at what she did. I mean, yes, this is last year, but look at what she did last year. Mm-hmm. 7 over 8 starts going to Turf Mile in the last 2 years. She won. The one time she didn't was the Fourstardave when Got Stormy broke the track record by over a second. Mm-hmm. The Just a Game Stakes wasn't a great effort from her. That was pretty bad. I'm pretty sure I think we were live covering that on the live stream for that one. Not a great effort from her. She loses Joel Rosario, who's sticking with Raging Bull, who we both said is an absolute must-use here. I'm not worried about Jose Ortiz because he's actually been breezing this horse very frequently. I found that out. So I'm like, okay, well, that's, not the Ortiz brother I'd necessarily want on her, but, Jose Ortiz knows her pretty well. Her best race smoked Without Parole. Her best race smokes just about everyone in here except for Raging Bull. So if she can get back to that form, and that's an if she gets back to that form, I've got to use her. I mean, this is the horse that was the best turf miler in the world last year. Not in the country, in the world, because she took on horses from Europe in the Breeders' Cup. So I'm definitely going to be using Uni in here. I'm using one more. Tell me why Uni's a bad move.
Because Uni looked really bad in Just a Game. And
yeah, she did.
And Irad didn't pick up the mount, who's ridden her past. So she literally got passed over by the jockey of the 1 and the 8 before anyone wanted to take them out. And we talked about this a lot. Sometimes as fillies get older, you see that the cliff and it just falls off and it just stops. Now, could she win the race? Of course. She's going to get bet here. She's going to get bet hard here.
Yeah, I don't love the 3-1.
She's going to end up second choice here. I expect Raging Bull to go off somewhere in the 7-5, 8-5 range. I think she's going to end up 2-1. I think you're going to get some prices after that. But if I'm going to use the third Chad Brown horse, give me the 7 at 12-1. Give me Valid Point, who I think has a legit shot to take a step forward here, who's a younger horse who could run a big race, is coming off its second time out as a 4-year-old, son of Scat Daddy, ran an 87 buyer last time. But if you go back to the Shadwell, ran a 92 buyer. If you project that out, again, you have a horse that can run right with these other horses. And on top of that, it was 3-1 last time against Social Paranoia, Seismic Wave, and Value Proposition. So if I'm going to take a third Chad Brown horse, I would be on the 7, not the 6. I'm actually pretty staunchly against both the 6 and the 4 here. I'm done with Got Stormy until she beats me. I'll let her beat me again. Uni, I think this is not the spot for her. I am going to use a third horse. I'm going to go throwback here.
Your old friend.
We're going to use Casa Creed. We got back to that 20-1 number again. Finally, we're getting the odds that I want on this horse. If you look, since the race where we had him in the Kitten's Joy at 12-1, 13-1, which is a key point to, I think it was a $1,500, $1,600 pick 4 we hit on this show, that horse has been bet every single time except one when it went off at 15-1. Now, you might be saying, Mike, you're crazy. This horse could never be as good as these horses. And you know what? I would say the same thing when he beat Henley's Joy. And the reason he beat Henley's Joy was pace. I believe that there's going to be a very slow pace in this race. And I think Casa Creed is going to be sitting right behind that slow pace. And if Casa Creed is able to sit right off the speed and get first run, they have to then try and catch Casa Creed. I'll give him a shot. And if you look back to Saratoga on August 2nd, this horse won the Hall of Fame. It's a grade 2 race. Yes, it was against 3-year-olds. But if you look at the time, he did it in 1:33.3. That's a very good time. And did it sitting right behind the pace and then popping forward. So I am going to take a swing here with Casa Creed, my old friend, at 20-1. Because you know what I am going to get? Every bit of that 20-1. Every bit of it. So I'm going to use the 2 best horses who I think get me through the race, and then the crazy long shot that I think can add a ton of value. So I'm going 1-2-8.
You're getting shit on from multiple people in the chat. They're saying you picked the wrong 20-1 Mott horse. They're all on chewing gum. I don't want anything to do with chewing gum, but hey, if you guys want, I mean, here's an angle for you. As soon as I posted the Breeders' Cup, the draw for it, for this race yesterday, Wise Dan came in and said, well, you can definitely chuck chewing gum. So if you want to play the off Dan angle, Dan hates chewing gum, so he's probably put the horse into the winner's circle. No, I don't want anything to do with that horse.
I think chewing gum and Holiday hook up. And if they hook up early and you have Casa Creed sitting right behind,
not that kind of hookup. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, well, you never know. Hey, and you have Casa Creed sitting right behind him. I think that is a very bad picture and mentally, but in the horse racing wise, then I think that he's going to sit the trip that is really going to be the best, get first run. I don't trust that chewing gum can get the mile distance, and I don't trust that Holiday is anything great outside of Gulfstream. So because of that, I think that you get the best setup for Casa Creed, who's sitting right there, able to get first run, able to get to the lead to the top of the stretch, and then it's the same question as the Hall of Fame race. It's can he hold off everyone's it's coming, and these are the best horses who've ever tried to chase Casa Creed down. Don't get me wrong, he's not the best horse in the race. But the setup is the best for this horse in the race, and that's why I'm going to use it.
Well, so you're going with Casa Creed.
Blows bubbles.
What's that?
We got a misspelling here in the chat. It's blows bubbles.
So you're going with Casa Creed, a horse that you've loved for a long time, that you're finally getting a great price on.
Correct.
I'm going to do you one better. I'm going with a horse that I've loved for a long time, that I'm finally getting the best price in over 15 months.
Yeah, go ahead.
Got Stormy. You know it.
Shocker.
You knew I was going with Got Stormy. I'm a sucker for this horse. I am.
You didn't use
always.
It last time.
I swear, every time that we cover, like after the bouquet and after the poker, I'm like, nah, I'm done. Is she done? I don't know. Is it? I'm not. And then I come back and play. I love her. I think I'm getting a great price. But here's a big thing. Mark Casse, who, by the way, how is he still over at the Saratoga meet? Mark Casse over. It reminds me a lot of what he did with War of Will. He put War of Will into the Maker's Mark Mile back on turf. And people are like, what are you doing? This horse he won the Preakness. He's better on dirt. Why are you doing that? And he puts War of Will in there because he never lost faith.
Is he better on dirt?
I don't know. That's not the point. I'm saying Mark Casse had faith that horse was going to run and was going to be a grade 1 winner on the turf and never gave up on him. He's not giving up on Cut Stormy. He put her against the boys in the poker stakes. And granted, she faced the boys and got fourth. She faded. It wasn't great. If this turf course comes up like rock hard like it did last year, she's going to fly. And you don't talk about pace. I think that Got Stormy's going to make sure that they go either she's going to be alone on the lead or pressing it, or there's going to be a good setup for her here. She's getting Tyler Gaffalione back, who's our favorite jockey. She's not facing Rushing Fall. She's facing a lot of really great horses here. But aside from Raging Bull, I think I take Rushing Fall over the rest of this field. She's 8 for 16 at this distance. She's won both of her races at Saratoga, going a mile on the inner turf. Philly's like it fast and firm. Got Stormy loves it fast and firm, man. I have to use her at 8-1. Just like you have to use Casa Creed at 20-1. I've got to use Got Stormy here.
You know that Valid Point was favored over Got Stormy in the poker?
Really?
I don't see any way, and you're getting 12-1 today on Valid Point. I don't see any way that Got Stormy gets the lead. I think Holiday's going to be on the lead. I think that horse, Saez is a send rider when he's on speed. I don't see any way that he doesn't send that horse. I think Holiday's going to get the lead. Got Stormy should get a pretty good trip. I'm just not sure that she's still got enough Stormy in her to be able to get home here. I mean, I think it's that simple. She's going to have a pretty killer turn of foot at the top of the stretch to be able to kick and clear. And then she's going to have some big time horses running against her. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out. But, I'm actually thinking sitting here and I'm trying to find a way to use the 7 to back in my ticket, because I do think that the 7 at 12-1 is an interesting point. So I may end up working the 7 into here at the end. But yeah, I wouldn't talk you off Got Stormy, but I'm chucking the 2 fillies here. I don't think Got Stormy or Rooney is going to be able to get
The only person who could talk me off Got Stormy is Mark Cassidy, and Mark Cassidy is a salesman, and he is full steam ahead with the Got Stormy train. So hey, listen, she did it last year. She had a magical run last year, just like Uni. And I need to find that magical run again, and hopefully, the old older filly cliff dive didn't happen with either one of them. But listen, Raging Bull is my top pick, and I both of those two could falter. Raging Bull still win, and I'll cash the ticket and move on, which is what we're going to do. We're going to look at the last leg of the late pick 4 sequence at Saratoga on Saturday, August 22nd, race 10, field of 10 males, 3 and up, in for a $25,000 tag. They've all not won 2 races in their lifetime. Favoritism is on the number 9, Rakiz, at 8-5. Chad Brown is 50%, 50%, 19 for 38 in the claiming race in the last year and a half. Pretty damn good. Definitely my top pick, but that's a big drop. I was a little worried there that the breeder's just going from a maiden special weight win, long time off. Now we're dropping in for 40. See if somebody wants to pick up our pieces here. Going 4 deep, you're actually going slightly deeper than I am, but I will say my 4 are all on your ticket. So all that fighting we had before, we can put it to rest.
Kumbaya, baby.
Go ahead with your picks.
Yeah, I used Raquez too. And look, you got to use this horse, but man, Shadwell dropping a Kitten's Joy out of a Mr. Greenlee mare just screams, what? Like, it's really scary because this horse has some breeding value if it's able to get any type of place stakes win. And it's not like this horse ran poorly on the turf either. I mean, it debuted at Aqueduct and didn't run great, but ran behind Tiberius Mercurius, who turned out to be a pretty good horse, and then goes out and wins, putting up an 81 Beyer second time out. I'm worried that this horse just isn't that sound, that there's an issue why it's only run twice. And I don't love seeing it show up here. Shadwell is not dropping to try and win the meet. Right. I mean, this isn't a Klarovich drop. This isn't a Rapoli drop. This is connections that don't usually make these type of drops down. So I am very concerned to see this horse in here. It's one of the main reasons why I'm trying to beat it. It just doesn't make a ton of sense why Shadwell specifically would be making this type of drop down in the claiming ranks. It is a must use for me because talent wise, it absolutely towers over this field. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. But I am going to use the 1 as my other must-use, Letterman, on the inside. We're stretching out a little bit. This is a horse that's debuting in its 6-year-old season. That's my biggest concern. But the last 2 races in the 5-year-old season were good. And if you look back to the race 2 back, Surge Pricing is a pretty good horse. This horse debuted against it on July 17th at Saratoga, first off a long layoff and able to run well. So I'm not that concerned about the horse firing well. And then every now and then at Saratoga, you have these trainers that are kind of under the radar. They're having very good meets. Well, James Bond is having one of those good meets. I mean, he is shaking things up right now and just stirring the straw correctly to be able to get all these horses home. And you have Gaffleon picking up the mount. The 2 of them are 2 for 5, 40% at the Saratoga meet so far. So I love what the 2 of them have been able to do together. I think this horse is able to sit the trip from a tactical perspective. I like the inside post draw. Not going to be too wide the first turn. Should be able to sit right behind the speed to be able to get a nice trip. So for me, the 1 and the 9 were the 2 horses that you have to use. I'm going to use a couple others, get a little crazy in here because I do think this is a good shot to try and find a price. But I'm going to start with those 2. Did you use the 1 or was that the one you left off?
Nope, I used it. I love Letterman here. The Gaffleon Bond angle. There's a couple horses I used because I read Ricky's Rockets every day, and Ricky knows the New York scene a lot better than I do because he follows it every day. He likes He likes the Harold James Bond barn on the turf. So I like this horse because of that. The 50K angle, 50K to 40K to me, there really isn't that much of a difference in terms of the quality of horses you're going to get there. And he held on, and now we're getting a little bit of a break. Seemed to run better on the inner turf, both at Aqueduct when they had when they first had the inner turf course, and then at Saratoga. So the two best efforts seem to have come, at least placing wise, from being on an inner course rather than an outer course. And I think that's kind of key for a horse like this, who has pretty good tactical speed, likes to sit up close and get a first jump. I know we can talk about the next one, the 3-horse Cataract. I like Cataract. I'm not sold on Eric Kinsell, but Eric Kinsell is done very well on this horse. He's the only jockey that this horse is known. David Donk, that's another Ricky's Rockets angle. He loves David Donk on the turf. So this horse also, like Saratoga, got a win in a second. Nice buyers both times, and it was both times over this inner turf course. So I'm going to play up that angle. Why did you like Cataract?
Cataract was actually the last horse on my ticket. David Donk is one of those reasons. He had a big weekend last weekend, won 3 races on Sunday, I believe it was. And he's one of those trainers who runs his horses into shape. So usually you see a better effort second and third off layoff. You saw that with Cataract last time, running well second off the layoff. Third off the layoff, I think he has a chance to return back to that Saratoga form. I also like the fact that his 2 races, Saratoga, are both very good. 75, 72 buyers, closing ground. I don't love the fact they only beat the 2 last time out by a little bit because I'm not using the 2 Kid Chocolate. So that's one concern for me. But I do think Cataract has a legit shot here. Should be coming from off the pace in the race, which I think does have enough pace that you're going to be able to hopefully see something or see a horse come from off the pace, because I'm only using 1 speed horse in this spot. Or I'm not using any of the speed horse in this spot. So my next horse in was the 5-horse Battalion. I thought Battalion was one of those horses that made a ton of sense in this spot. Again, I didn't love the last race, but Winning Factor came back to win, and that's a Donk horse that is able to come back and win next time out. And that was one of the ones that won Sunday on Sunday. Had a pinch start and kind of was back in the field, didn't get out to the lead as much as I thought the horse would want to. And then was kind of pulled back after that, and then made a nice run. It was first time against winners. It was allowance 50 after breaking its maiden special weight. We're stepping back into the claiming ranks now, so I think there's a little bit step down in class for this horse. And it really hasn't done anything wrong since it's gone to the turf. I mean, it didn't love the dirt the first time out, but a lot of times with Mott, you see that kind of start to prep a turf race. And then since then, it's consistently been getting better on the turf. Only 1 regression in that buyer form cycle. So I think this horse has a shot at running a big one here. So I'm going to use the 8. Again, the 3-to-1 price isn't necessarily something I love, but it's more of a protected play here for me.
Sorry, you said 8, but you meant
I'm going to use the 5. Yeah, I'm sorry.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, I'm with you too. I love that the 5 was almost my top pick. If it wasn't for Chad Brown being 50% at the damn claiming level, this probably would have been my top pick. That last race, if you go back and watch, this horse had to go all the way to the back. And based on the past running style, and especially how he broke his maiden, not where this horse wanted to be. The fact that he was able to keep grinding away in the stretch and pass horses. I mean, he didn't have second until probably about, he's inside the 16th pole when he got second. He was grinding away and pushing. Winning Factor, you weren't catching him. And like you said, Mike, he won his next start out. So if he can get a close trip like he had when he broke his maiden at Gulfstream Park, I think this horse is just as dangerous as the Chad Brown runner. I'm not in love with that 3-to-1 price, but Junior Alvarado, Bill Mott, this is an angle that you've used on previous races here. So obviously we're going to like him. The one horse that we haven't talked about that is on your ticket is not on mine is the 7 Ravino with Rosario getting aboard. And I'm guessing the jockey upgrade is why you're using Ravino, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it. I like the fact that, look, Nick Zito seems to win one of these every year at Saratoga, where the horse just comes out of nowhere and you're like, wait, what, who, how? And
Zito gonna Zito.
Yeah, Zito gonna Zito, man. And I think this is one of those horses that makes sense. And if you look at this horse's past career, it actually debuted on the turf, which I think tells you something. You don't see a lot of Zito's debut on the turf. So I think that he clearly thought this was a better turf horse than dirt horse. It then got taken off the turf in its third race into its career and ran well on the dirt. And I think that's why it then became a dirt horse, because of that race. Well, after all this time on the dirt, they take it back to turf. It runs a very good race. It was the trip, if you watch it, was atrocious. I mean, it
bad.
Was 3 wide on the first turn. It was not a great ride from Louis Cardenas. We're upgrading now to Joel Rosario. I think this horse's style fits Joel Rosario very well. I think he'll be able to get it to close late. And I love the price, man. I'm willing to take a 15-to-1 number on this horse. I just feel like Rosario's been enough live mounts, and in these last races on the turf, weird stuff happens. And this is the kind of horse that could win at a number for a barn that you don't always expect it, but is dangerous enough that you need to think about using. And so I feel like the pace is going to set up well. I feel like they thought this was a turf horse originally, and now we're getting back to that. I think second time over this turf is going to help the horse. I think you're getting a big-time jockey upgrade, and you're getting 15-to-1. So I'm going to take a stab with this horse at a number because I think it could add quite a bit of value to the pick 4.
Well, and with Zito, with a small percentage barn like Nick Zito, and there's a couple trainers in California I do this with a lot. 7%, only 5 for 72 on the year. But if you look at his stats at the bottom, I like to look to see, is there a big jump? Is there something they're really good at? He's 12% with a $1.23 ROI on turf races, 10% with a $1.37 ROI in claiming races. You have plenty of numbers there to play with. There are 73 starts claiming. So, even routing, he's 8% over 7%, but from 159 routes, that's pretty good. So
yeah.
if he was like 1%, 2% in those angles, I'd be like, you're nuts. But Rosario picking up when he's only ridden 4 times in the last year and a half for this guy, he's got a pretty damn sharp agent. So I would expect him to far outrun his odds. Whether or not he wins, is a different story because it is Nick Zito, but Zito's also 4 runners on the board from 10 starts. He hasn't won yet at Saratoga, but he's got a decent barn right now, it looks like.
Yeah, and there's a lot of improvement possible off that last race, which I think is the other key. And yes, he does. Dennis just mentioned that he has an E rating for an early speed horse, and he has been up front in quite a few races. But we're talking about Rosario here, and so the horse also. I mean, if you look at his time form US, he's 88 early, 80 late. He has the ability to do either based on those time form numbers. And my expectation, especially when you have a horse like, Scotty Brown right to his inside, who's a 107 early, you have quite a few horses that want to go early. And I think because of those early time form numbers, you're going to see a little hotter pace. And look, man, I don't expect Rosario to send ever. So because of that, I think he's going to try and change the style up a little. And I wouldn't be shocked if this horse likes it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a big time effort from the 7.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Mike and I are going to go through and give our tickets one more time. If you're watching live on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, thanks for joining us. If you're watching the replay, thank you also for joining us. The tickets right down there at the bottom, but we'll go ahead and give them out right here. I'll start 478 with 236, with 146, with 1359. $54. I'm actually more expensive than Mr. Samich. Go with your ticket.
Not anymore. Mr. Samich is going to add a horse here, so I'm going to become the more expensive ticket. So I'm going to go with 248. With 12, with 1278, with 13579. That's going to be a $60 ticket for 50 cents. So I'm going to put Valid Point in there in the mile and see if we can get another price on. Just looking over it, the more I talked about it, the more I felt like the horse should be used at the price that I think you're going to get. And if I'm going with the 1 and the 2 in the leg as my short prices, they're both short prices. I want to spread out in other spots. So I'm going to end up going for a $60 ticket and go 4 deep there.
So you used 3 of the 4 Chad Browns, which means you just put Uni in the winner's circle for me. So thank you in advance. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just trying to help a friend out here. That's the whole point of this.
Listen, I haven't given out a winning ticket here in a while. Hey, I know you got to get going, so we're going to go ahead and end this. Thank you again so much, everybody who's listened. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Chris Color. He's at SmallBomb18, number 1, number 8. We do this show normally 2:30 p.m. Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. Bumped it up an hour today for Mr. Samich, but hopefully you can join us Mondays and Thursdays. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
We'll see you next time.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.